Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Speeding in the Pits podcast show. My name is Connor Huberty. I'll be hosting solo for you today, but this is episode 21 of the pod for us here. Crazy to think that we're beyond that 20 number. Again, just want to say thank you. I don't think we do it enough when we do these. Just thanks to everybody for supporting us, following along. It's been a blast to get started on this. We're very, very early in all this. I know episode 21 feels like maybe a lot to some, but to us, this is, really, we're still running around with our training wheels on. So getting ready to move to the next step and keep expanding on things. But yeah, that's all a process. But uh, that kind of talks into right here. Where have we been? Apologies for last week. We just, between Wyatt and I, we've got enough going on for about 15, 20 people. It feels like sometimes. I personally, without getting into too much detail, I've been taking a lot of trips to the doctor's office, nothing life threatening or real serious, but been in and out of that, traveling back and forth. Last week just got too busy, wasn't able to get to it. And Wyatt as well. I know he kind of hinted at it a couple shows ago. If those of you that have been paying attention, he's got a pretty big life change coming up that's pretty exciting. So I'm sure when the time comes here in the next few weeks, he'll be able to jump back on and let us know what that looks like and what that is in detail. But for now, he's still just working on that and just keep moving that direction. Everything's good. Everything's positive, but yeah, just still working, just too busy last week. And that's where he is again this week. But yeah, figured I'd jump on and come hang out with you guys for the week and recap where we're at. And I know our social medias have been quiet. If you have social media, we go by Speeding in the Pits on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, our YouTube channel has these episodes, but we're going to get more active here the next few weeks. Like I kind of mentioned, where I've been, things are kind of slowing down for me a little bit here going forward. So I should be able to keep those a little bit more active on my end. I know we have a few other hands that'll be in play there too to hopefully keep the ball rolling. So if you need updates going forward, we'll get them to you there. Just go ahead and follow us. Again, appreciate all the support you guys have given. It's been pretty awesome to hear feedback every week when we do these shows. It's just cool to hear people listening. And, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We could do this without even hitting record. And it's a blast to me. So the fact that, there's people out there that take the time to listen, greatly appreciate it. But anyway, that's where we've been. The weather's turning around here in Minnesota. This is finally to my liking. I know there's quite a few people pretty upset. We've had quite a few high 80s, even a couple low 90s days here already at the beginning of May. That's got people frustrated. Not me. That's right where I'd live for about 6 months if we could. But I get a reality check starting tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be Wednesday, midweek here, the 14th. It's going to start raining and get colder here. So short-lived for me, but I've been enjoying that. Hope those of you that live nearby, you've been doing the same. But yeah, that's really about it. Like I said, we're getting more consistent here, figuring out social media and all that good stuff. And then, yeah, like I said, wanted to jump on and at least give a solo here. I know it's going to be a little bit shorter, but at least get you something to get caught up because we are kind of almost to what we'd call a midway break in the season here with the All-Star break. Not exactly halfway, but it's been a while since Daytona back in February. It feels like you blink and you miss it, so to speak. And that's always the case this early part of the NASCAR season. You start in Daytona, it feels like middle of February, and snowing outside here in Minnesota. It's never going to be nice out, all that stuff. And here we are, middle of May, and it's talking about 90 degrees. And the All-Star race, it always blink and you miss it. It goes so fast. Crazy to think we're here again. But just to give everybody a rundown where we're at here, kind of set the stage. We were just at Kansas last week. The show we missed was obviously coming off of Texas in kind of a weird race, I guess we'd call it. Going back to Texas quick. Joey Logano was the winner there. A lot of late race cautions, guys making mistakes, hitting that bump that we saw through turns 3 and 4. That created a lot of issues there for a lot of people. Judging by what the drivers have been saying, just kind of the nature of how this car drives and the way the track is set up right now in Texas, that's just going to be the nature of the beast. So we've seen it before with this next gen car and stage racing. Joey Logano just kind of taking advantage of late race cautions and being there at the right time and seizing the opportunity really. And not really been a year for him to that he would stamp as one of his best. Still sitting at 9th in points now after the last couple of weeks with the win, but again, got the almighty win. That's so important with the way the Cup Series and all of NASCAR set up now in the playoffs. And that win, for those of you that don't know, if you finish in, I believe it's the top 30 in points with a win, you're qualified for the playoffs. You're one of the 16 guys that make it. So Um, Excuse me. That's what makes it so important for Joey and any of these guys to get these wins. If you're, somebody like Joey Logano this year who had been running 15th, 20th, really not having that great of a year statistically, you can kind of wash away all your worry and just put yourself in the playoffs with one win. So he's obviously rebounded quite well after the win now too. I think he had a pretty good run here in Kansas as well. So, or at least showed speed, I should say. Did finish ninth. So uh, overall, 22 car, that was a big win for them. Probably a step in the right direction. You see that with Penske. They kind of go in runs, as a lot of teams do, these bigger teams. But 22 car probably finding something at the right time going into the summer, and maybe we'll see where this goes here. But he dominated the All Star race last year. Probably a perfect place for him to be. Um, but yeah, that was Texas. That was 2 weeks ago. Where were we last week? We were in Kansas, which has basically been stamped, I would say, as the best track in this quote unquote next gen era with this car in the Cup Series. This is really the place that's probably produced overall the best racing every time we've gone, just consistently. And I think we were on the right track again with that. Won't get into too much detail about the next gen. We do that enough a lot of weeks here. Just again, I'll say it just to get it out of the way. I just don't fundamentally love how this car drives. I just don't love the inability these guys uh, have, and not on a skill base. It's not the driver's problem, but they just don't have any option, I should say, to follow each other around the track. And you have to run different lines, meaning you can't follow each other directly in the corners and stuff like that. That's so important in NASCAR racing. You saw it again this weekend. You're just reminded at a place like Kansas. Luckily, they have a way around it. They have a way out. Kansas, you can run the top of the racetrack by the wall. You can run it down at the bottom by the line painted, and then somewhere in between as well. So you have a lot of options. But we go to a lot of places like Texas where it just is glaringly obvious, and you just get that reminder every time we go to a mile and a half track. But overall, decent race. Kyle Larson's just Kyle Larson, man, and I think that's important. That's been a conversation as well. Kyle went ahead and kind of. I wouldn't say dominated. There were comers and goers, a couple different drivers. It's hard to say with comers and goers. I mean, he led 221 of the 267 laps. So it was a dominant win. We could chalk it up to that, but you saw Chase Elliott for a while have some speed. Brad Keselowski got, which was a pleasant surprise, I would say, up until their flat tire. Uh, Even though Fox took about an hour and a half to show us that Brad Keselowski was fast. A couple other guys. Josh Berry had good speed, I thought, too. Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney. I mean, no surprise he finished third. A guy that we've been saying it for weeks has just needed something to, everything to go smoothly. No, he didn't need one catastrophic thing to happen. So got away with one there, so to speak, in his eyes, probably, or what it feels like. But top three finish, you take that. And yeah, again, back to Kyle Larson. Just he's one of the best race car drivers in the world for a reason. And leading 220 of 260 laps, whatever. That's dominant. We've seen the conversation here the last few weeks. It is why the fans are complaining about the racing lately because he's so good, or is it the car? And there's a very distinct difference between the two. Guys have always dominated in NASCAR. For those of you that haven't watched that long, this has been going on forever. It was actually worse, probably back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, stuff like that. You'd have guys win by whole laps. They'd lap the entire field once or even multiple laps, whatever the case may be. So that's not new to the sport. Nobody's sitting here arguing that Kyle Larson is the problem or that we shouldn't have a dominant driver. I would argue the sport's better when we do have dominant drivers, when you have the guys that seem like superheroes. Kyle Larson's really the only thing we have right now that approaches that territory. Um, and that's why I think we kind of, you hear drivers pushing back against the fans or NASCAR pushing back against the fans that, man, you guys are just complaining because he's being dominant, and that's not the problem. And a lot of fans are trying to say, well, no, that's not what we're arguing about. We're trying to tell you that we just don't like the way this car drives, and so to speak. So Kyle Larson, again, big time win, reminding us all of who he is, that he's not going anywhere. That does put him back in P1 in the point standings this year. Just a quick check in at the All-Star break. Crazy to think that, we're only 12 races in when you look at it. But Kyle Larson so far has accumulated 817 laps led. That is more than double the next closest guy, which is William Byron, his teammate, at 386. He has 8 stage wins. That is also more than double the next highest, which is also William Byron with 3. He has 8 top fives. Crazy number in 12 races for those of you that haven't followed the sport for that long. That's really the number there that stands out to me. The 3 wins at this point is obviously amazing too. That's great. Any driver that's coming on that strong this early in the year, very impressive. But to have all of that line up with the laps led, with the top fives, that's a very, very impressive start to the season. Uh, you and kind of what I talk about with that and why a dominant driver would be good is, like I said, you have your larger than life heroes, and that's what I go back to as a kid. I think of your Jeff Gordons, your Dale Earnhardts, your what transitioned to Tony Stewart's and Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson and all those guys. Like that's what makes the sport polarizing. That's what makes it engaging for fans is you have a vested interest in who is winning or who isn't. And if we all can pick a side one way or the other, that we all cheer against the guy that wins a lot, or we cheer against the guy or and all that stuff. That's what makes it special. That's what's fun. And that's where I think we've all kind of lost the plot, so to speak, if we're complaining about a guy being dominant. I mean, I wouldn't stand up and say I'm the biggest Kyle Larson fan in the world. I just have never really taken that vested of an interest. Do I think he's one of the best race car drivers in the world? Absolutely. Uh, Again, I think that's important, and I think Kyle Larson's an intricate part of the sport, and then as a whole, the motorsports world. I mean, he's going to go run the Indy 500 here in a couple weeks, and if all goes well in comparison to last year, with I think it was a mistake on pit road, he's going to have a great run there too. So he can put his talent on display in just about anything with 4 wheels and a steering wheel. Won the Chili Bowl earlier this year. I mean, just what that guy can't do. It seems like he's winning a 410 sprint race in the high limit series that he helped create every week at this point. I mean, he's really the jack of all trades in motorsports right now. He is the closest thing to a true wheelman, as we call it, in this generation, and I think that's great. I think that's again important, but I think NASCAR needs to embrace that and put that on display and let his talent do the work. And this weekend at Kansas was no different. That was absolutely perfect for what we need and what the motorsports world as a whole appreciates. And so hats off to him. Kind of mentioned a couple other guys that had speed. Just hate how this weekend ended up for Chase Elliott. I I don't even know what to say about that. Like it's one of those things where I mean Chase is running fourth in points. Good year. I mean he's got 3 top 5, 6 top 10s. It's real solid. I mean he's only led the thing that stands out to me with Chase Elliott, excuse me, is that the number that is important is the 74 laps led. And yeah, he's been out front. So I mean, any number higher than like 10, I guess, tells you at least that he's gotten to the lead of a race. But 74 is still not that many in the grand scheme of things. You know, like I said, he's fourth in points. Uh, the other 4 drivers in the top 5, it's Larson with 817, Byron with 386, Christopher Bell with 142, and Ryan Blaney with 199. You know, he's 50% of the next closest driver. So yeah, it's a good thing to be high in the points. I mean, obviously your season long championship's important. He's sitting in a pretty good spot. Still got to get up front and win races, like I talked about here with Joey Logano winning at Texas. It is more important than ever to win races in the sport. Has been for I think what are we going on 5-6 years now with this playoff format that you almost essentially have to win at least once or twice to advance through the season to make the Final Four. Probably got to win twice, I would say, to make the Final Four. Just throughout the season, however you mix them in, accumulate enough points that way. Uh, it's a bummer to see this. I would chalk it up to him. And Chase Elliott definitely has come out and said since this next gen car, since 2022, that he struggled with the transition. He's not as comfortable in this race car. He's a previous champion of the sport in the old car. The talent is there. He's won plenty of races to prove that he can do this on a consistent basis. It's just getting comfortable in the next gen. He's won races the next gen too. So I'm not saying it's impossible. Um, But you just hate to see races like this get given away. Like this is one the 9 car should have won. And when you want to be that champion, when you want to be the top dog of the sport, you have to eliminate those races. And what happened on pit road is obviously not necessarily Chase the driver's fault, but the 9 team as a whole. Like if you want to get to that end result, this stuff just can't be an option anymore. That's just how cutthroat and how ultra competitive the sport is right now. When you get to the playoffs, there's 8 guys that are lights out every week, and one mistake will end your day, end your season, end your round of the playoffs, whatever the case may be. It's a big bummer. Obviously, I'd rather have it happen right now in the middle of May, but again, you only get so many chances to win these races. It doesn't happen every week. It's not a given. It's a huge bummer. I was really devastated about that one because I thought for sure this was the week Chase kind of gets his get back, gets the mojo flowing in the right direction. He's kind of in that same boat as Ryan Blaney. I feel better about Ryan, even though he's behind Chase in the playoffs. Just they're in the point standings, I should say, not the playoffs, but just because of Ryan's total misfortune with engines blowing up, getting caught in wrecks, stuff like that. This was a self-inflicted wound by Chase Elliott and the 9 team, and that's much more of a problem to me than an engine blowing up. Like we've been saying for a couple weeks here between Wyatt and I, 12 car is going to be fine, going to be fine. And one top 3 finish, all of a sudden he's back to 5th in points and everything looks fine. He goes on a good string of races here into the summer. He's going to be right back where we all thought he would be. So nothing to worry about there on Ryan's end, but just to use a comparison, more concern on Chase's end that he doesn't get as many chances to win these races. He's not up front. I mean, he runs inside the top 10 with regularity, maybe a top 5, but not always in that top 3. And so to see him up there and end up giving it away a little bit, that really hurts. So if Wyatt was here as a Chase Elliott fan, our steadfast Chase Elliott fan, he would be the one to tell you how bummed out he is. It's kind of a bummer he couldn't be here this week of all weeks. For his sake, maybe he's dodging this, but yeah, that one hurts. I'm again pretty impartial to all the drivers. I don't really have a favorite, but yeah, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, that one sucks. So hopefully rebound here. And can kind of move forward as well. But Brad Keselowski mentioned him earlier too. Another guy that I would lump into that. Just RFK as a whole has been bad, we'll say. Not to sugarcoat it, they just haven't had a lot go right. Thought Chris Buescher would be competing for wins more often than he is at this point. I really thought they were going to take the step after 2023, and it really never came the way I thought. But with that being said, kind of like Chase Elliott, Brad, get a lot of chances to win these things all the time. Not saying Brad was going to win the race, but taking home any sort of positive result rather than stuffing it in the fence with a flat tire, and again, flat tire, not really the team's fault necessarily. Would be interested to go back and look at the pit stop if there's anything that happened there. I know the topic of conversation all weekend was this new tire compound and the pressures they were setting it at might have had something to do with that, but yeah, a bummer. Like nothing you could do about it. There's nothing Brad could do differently. Flat tires happen. Just is what it is. Um, but yeah, again, you just don't get opportunities like that all the time. So would have liked to see him finish that one out for a strong result. Really kind of catapult himself back into what I would call relevancy in the season standings. He's 33rd right now. So, and they're only scoring 44 guys, and that includes everybody that ran the one-off Daytona 500. Or any other one-off. You got Martin Truex Jr. last in points right now. So he's still listed. Just to give you some comparison there to where RFK is shaking up. You got Brad in 33rd. Let's see, where's Priest at in here? I know I saw Buescher's 12th in points. Again, points in the playoffs are 2 different things, but this is just season-long points accumulated. No playoff points factored in here. And then you have Priest I just saw him. I apologize. This is really bad. Not podcasting, but radio or video show. Priest is 16th in points. So not too bad between those 2 guys. Brad being 33rd. That's a deep hole. And that's what I mean. But when I say like you got to take every advantage you can of getting strong results here. Not necessarily winning races, but if you're going to get a top 5, you got to hang out of that thing for dear life. So kind of a bummer for the 6th team. Bummer to see that happen for them. But again, hopefully some momentum like Chase can get some positive turnaround here after the All-Star break, we call it, or the All-Star race. So for those of you new to the sport, we are heading to North Wilkesboro this weekend. It is the All-Star race, All-Star weekend. Why is that different? It's not a points paying race. So, like Bowman Gray, the Clash at the beginning of the year, this is more so a monetary fun exhibition. We're putting $1 million on the line Sunday night. Yeah, it's a celebration of sorts, I would call it. It's not necessarily a points paying. You'll see different strategy. Obviously, we talked about it a few weeks ago, the format. We'll cover that again here in a second, but you just have a lot of different fun things going alongside of it. So, starting things off for the weekend, I'm pretty excited about this too. The Cars Tour is there. So the Cars Tour is a late model racing league, I guess, series you'd call it, run by Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick. I think Jeff Burton's involved. They're going to be there Thursday, Friday night. If you're a NASCAR Cup only or NASCAR only fan, I totally get it. I just think it's fun because the Friday night race they're having is going to be on FS1. So those of you with FS1, you've obviously been watching NASCAR anyway. I encourage you to check that out. That'll be fun. I hope to get to watch most of that in real time. If not, I'd have to go watch it back myself. But the late model stock car race Friday night will be fun. I don't have an entry list in front of me, but that's usually a pretty packed list. I'm going to try and find that quick while we're talking here. So a lot of Cup guys, just NASCAR guys in general will come back and run this. And sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time, but it's a celebration. So fun to see these guys participate. Fun to have different, I call it just different series on display here at a NASCAR weekend. Sometimes we've seen it before. A couple years ago, they tried at Indy they had IndyCar race along with the Cup Series. I mean, that was fun. Wasn't exactly my cup of tea, but cool to see more engagement, things like that. I think that's a fun opportunity. So if you're looking for more racing, looking for something to watch, expose yourself to, that late model stock race on Friday night will be fun. This is not an entry list on Flow Racing. Go ahead and Google it. I apologize. I'm not going to take everybody's time hunting for that thing, but I believe there's a couple. I know Suarez ran it last year. Chastain, I think, ran it last year. I want to say Eric Jones. There's quite a few guys. I'd say 5-6 Cup guys ran that race Friday night. So it's fun to see them drive something different. Fun to see them race against some different people. But again, that's Friday night, FS1. What else is available this weekend? I believe the trucks race on Saturday. It's like early afternoon. I can find that too. Good podcasting. Yeah, North Wilkes 1:30 on Saturday is the truck race. So that'll be a points race. That will count. Not that the All-Star race doesn't mean anything, but if you want to see just points paying races that follow the season standings, that one does count. And you'll see Cup guys. I want to say Corey LaJoy is running that one. There's a few other guys as well running that truck race too. So you kind of see them all over the place. So fun event there too. A little bit different than a lot of routine weekends. Guys like to kind of try some different things, get mixed up in some different crews, things like that. Saturday night there is some all-star stuff. The heat races are Saturday night. Those just set the lineup for Sunday's events. So what's on Sunday? What does that mean? Heat races are basically just qualifying races in the sense they're not sending anybody home. Everybody just goes out and tries to set their spot for Sunday. And basically, I believe, let me go back and look. So on Sunday afternoon, there's the All-Star Open, and then there's the All-Star race. There's two races technically. The All-Star race is the main event, the finale. Drivers that have won a race in either 2024 or 2025, Cup Series races, points paying races too, keep that in mind, are already qualified for the All-Star race and passed any All-Star winner in the past that's still in the series is already qualified. So like Kyle Busch would already be in. NASCAR Cup Series champions, again, Kyle Busch, who compete full-time. Guys like him, you're already in. That you don't need to race in the Open. So that means the Open leads us off on Sunday. That's all the guys that aren't already locked in. I believe they take top two finishers. Yep. They take top two finishers. It's a 100-lap race and a fan vote winner. So they'll take 3 guys from that open that will also run the all-star race. I believe it's right around usually about 20 guys that end up running the all-star race. So um, again, just a fun weekend to give $1 million to the winner. They do pay other positions. You don't go home totally broke, but $1 million to the winner. It's there's a couple fun different quirks. We kind of talked about this. The promoter's caution uh, has to be used by lap 220 of the 250 laps. Basically, the promoter, White, and I joked a couple weeks ago, we don't know who the promoter is. NASCAR hasn't really said who's going to be the one, but they have the option to throw a caution at any time before lap 220. They can just say, yellow flag, caution's out, bunch the field back up. I will predict that they're going to use that. There is a competition caution at lap 100 of the race just to take a break. I'm sure they're going to change tires, all of that good stuff. But then there's also this promoter's caution. I'll bet they're going to use it. They announced today they're going to use the soft option tire from, what was that, Phoenix. We've seen it a couple other places. I think North Wilkesboro last year. But there is not going to be an option on which tire you use. That's the only one you're getting, which, again, I've said I liked. So hopefully that promotes a little bit more tire fall off, a little bit more opportunity to pass. Guys' cars driving like crap, the ones that burn their tires off too quick. Hopefully that helps. But again, it's North Wilkesboro. It's a short track. It's the next gen. Come in with the correct expectations and to make that make of that what you will. Other fun things, there is a pit crew challenge on Friday. I hope that's televised on FS1. I believe is carrying most of this. Sunday night's race, I believe, is on FS1 as well. But yeah, just a bunch of fun stuff. For those of you that have never seen it before, there is this new manufacturer showdown that's new this year. Sorry, I'm just trying to read off the note sheet here because this one's a little bit more confusing to me. But members of each team, I'm assuming each manufacturer, so Chevy, Ford, and Toyota, will be determined, by at least represented manufacturer. And so basically they're saying if there's only 3, 4, or 5 Toyotas that make the all-star race, they're only counting 3 or 4 or 5 Fords and Chevys because there's more Fords and Chevys than there are Toyotas. So they're making it equal. Teams will be scored against each other and not by their overall all-star finish. The lowest combined total finishing position will be the win. Oh, okay. So it's pretty simple after that. We're evening teams out bylaw or whatever you want to call that was a little weird to read, but no, that makes more sense now. Okay. So basically what's going to happen is they're going to take six Toyotas, 6 Fords, 6 Chevys. I'm estimating the numbers is probably going to be somewhere around there. And then that highest overall finishing or best overall finishing will win the manufacturer showdown. I'm not sure what they get for that this year. Well, it doesn't say what they're racing for there, but I'm sure something. NASCAR will cut a check of some sort to the winning team there. But yeah, again, that's all-star weekend. That'll be starting Friday night. There's a little bit of everything. Again, late model stocks, the Cars Tour, no Xfinity Series. I'm a little bit bummed about that, just solely for the fact that I would like to see the Xfinity Series race at North Wilkesboro. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Hopefully someday we get that. We haven't gotten it yet with North Wilkesboro reopening a couple years ago. That hasn't happened. I would predict North Wilkesboro, for those of you that don't know, again, North Wilkesboro was shut down, I believe, around 1997 was the last time they went there. 96 might have been the last time they went, up until a couple years ago, and sat dormant. Now, it was NASCAR's big shift at the end of the 90s to get into tracks like Kansas and Texas and Mile and a Half Chicago at the time, which opened and has now since closed. But NASCAR kind of is in the middle of a renaissance where we saw Bowman Gray earlier this year. We've seen North Wilkesboro a couple times. Now again this weekend, we saw Rockingham a couple weeks ago. It's nice to me. I would like a perfect mix. I think there's a way to balance all this. You get the modern and the old, but North Wilkesboro is definitely a throwback and a pretty fitting place to have the all-star race. But since we brought it back, it's, again, weekends like this where there's a lot of quirky things, I'll call it, going on. So the Xfinity Series hasn't raced here yet, but I'd like to see it here in the next couple of years. I would predict, North Wilkesboro is going to get a points race, and they might move the all-star race to like Bowman Gray or something like that in the years to come. It sounds like that's where things are headed. So excited about that. Hoping we get a full traditional NASCAR weekend here at North Wilkesboro coming up, but hopefully the next couple of years. Uh, I guess I can make a pick while I'm sitting here by myself and reading through all this. I would like to say I think so. Kyle Larson won 2 years ago. Joey Logano won last year's. Just that it doesn't mean anything to anybody. Just reading out loud. Give me Christopher Bell. I he doesn't have the numbers. I know we just ran through all that. He's third in points, having his best year as a Cup Series driver for sure. Also has 3 wins to match Larson. So I think that he's won the 3 in a row. So having a great year. I think we see it again. It's going to be what I'm hoping for is we get a little bit of like what the Chili Bowl becomes. We didn't see it exactly this year either. But Tulsa Shootout, we did. The Christopher Bell versus Kyle Larson. Somehow those two, there's this, unspoken rivalry in a sense that it's always these two guys in the dirt world locking horns. And so I'm hoping we see that again. I think that would be pretty exciting to get a taste of that in the NASCAR world. So, yeah, I'll go Christopher Bell for the $1,000,000. I just think 20 car has been good this year. I think after the week Larson had last week, a little bit more fuel in the fire, and so hopefully we'll see some get back. But yeah, I'll take Christopher Bell for All-Star Weekend. For the trucks, give me Corey Heim. I might as well pick there too. Not that I'm stretching there to make that pick. That guy's dominant. Doesn't need to be in a truck anymore. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in. I said it a couple of times. I'll say it again. Could not appreciate any of the support enough. It's crazy that anybody listens to this. I'm literally talking in my basement by myself right now. Feel like a crazy person, but love doing it anyway. So shout out to all you guys. Appreciate the support. We'll get Wyatt back here in the next week or two. Hopefully, he can get you all caught up on where he's at, but we'll recap all things North Wilkesboro and keep this train moving along. This is episode 21 of Speeding in the Pits, and thanks for tuning in.